discussing about the how to improve our chanting. So the most important thing in improving chanting is, like once I asked Guru Maharaj how to improve our chanting, and Guru Maharaj said that by chanting. If we chant sufficiently with good focus, and then chanting itself will improve our chanting. Chanting is sufficient, self-sufficient, doesn't need anything else. But that much faith we should have in chanting. No? That yes, by chanting everything can be achieved. Other than chanting, we do not need anything else in order to progress in Krishna consciousness, in order to get the goal of life. What is the goal of chanting? What do we want to achieve through chanting? The goal of chanting is to develop love of Krishna. And that is what chanting actually delivers. Some people think that chanting gives the material benediction, material thing, material advancement, fulfills material desires. Some people think that chanting about liberation from the cycle of birth and death, chanting frees us from suffering. But our acharyas have explained that chanting is so powerful that it gives the most precious gift of pure love of Krishna. So while doing anything, the most important thing is, first thing is to know its value. Why do we chant? The importance of chanting. So generally people think that chanting starts in the morning and goes on for 2 hours, and then we are free. But in reality, chanting is, of course, we chant for 2 hours, but to chant for 2 hours, the rest of the 22 hours of the day are there to prepare for chanting 2 hours. That's what we should understand. So just like we sit in exam, when all of you must be remembering that when you were a student, in student life, in maybe after 1 year, there is to be exam, and exam was conducted for maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, but preparation for the exam goes on for maybe 12, 11 months. And then 1 week exam. So similarly, the 2 hours is the japa time. But what I understand is that the rest of the 22 hours of the day is given to prepare for 2 hours japa. So 22 hours preparation and then 2 hours japa. That's how we have to understand. Now, when there is exam, who will pass and who will fail? It depends on how nicely you have prepared for the exam. So if your preparation is not good, then you cannot chant the holy name properly. Suppose like preparation in the sense that like so, whole day 22 hours, if we have not practiced to be in a proper consciousness, to remember Krishna, to be prayerful, to be humble, you know, to think of Krishna. If we have not done for 22 hours, then it's more likely that while chanting also we are not going to do those things. And that's what usually happens. Most devotees, they mistake here. They think that chanting time is different, and when we are not chanting, time is different. No. It's just a reflection of your 22 hours. 2 hours, how you are going to focus on chanting is reflection of our 22 hours. So even when we are not chanting, how do we behave when we are not chanting? So sometimes when we are chanting, we say, "Oh Krishna, I am very fallen. I'm, kindly deliver me. I am struggling in this material world. Ai nand tanuj kinkaram patitam mam visme bhavam udav. Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagdish kamaye. Trinadapi sunichen tarurapi sahishmana." While chanting we do. And the moment chanting finishes, we think opposite. We start looking for too much dhanam, janam, sundarim, kavitam. We start thinking that this material world is also not so bad. Things are very nice. Nothing to worry much. We start feeling proud. So this is called, like, we are praying at the time of prayer, our behavior is different. And when we are not doing prayers, that time our behavior is completely opposite. So that's called, we can say that this is called duplicit behavior. And that's what is what Krishna is noticing. So 24 hours, what is our consciousness, sum total? That is what is going to be at the time of chanting. So therefore, it's very, very important that we properly utilize 22 hours to prepare for 2 hours chanting. Proper preparation. And what is that preparation? We have to prepare ourselves for chanting. The first preparation is preparing our body. The physical gross body made of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. This gross body we need to prepare properly. Usually I see that devotee don't think that body has more role, some good role to play in chanting. Chanting is done through tongue, and its transcendental sound vibration has nothing to do with the body. So they don't know how to prepare for the body. We need to prepare our body, we need to prepare our mind, we need to prepare our intelligence, We need to prepare our ego. We need to prepare our soul, ourselves. So those 22 hours are there for preparation. Preparing your body, mind, intellect, ego, soul. Now, how to prepare our body? That is very important. Of course, when we reach the stage of perfection, that is called self-realization, self-realized stage. And that is that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. Then this body may not have any impact on chanting, and we need not have to prepare for, prepare the body for chanting, like Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, but we all must admit that we are not Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. We are not Haridas Thakur. We are in a conditioned stage of consciousness, and therefore we should not imitate them. Rather, we should know our state of advancement, and then accordingly we should prepare. So the body also has to be prepared. So how to prepare? See, the Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, about the preparing the body. Yuktahara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta swapnao bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkhaha. That we need to be very balanced in our eating, habit of eating, habit of sleeping, and habit of recreation. Three things. And Krishna says that it should be that we should not eat too much, neither we should eat too less. We should neither sleep too much, we should neither sleep too less. We should be balanced in our eating and sleeping. Many times the devotees eat anything at any time. So that will not help us in chanting. We should be regulated in our eating and matters of eating and also sleeping. What time do we sleep? What time do we wake up? Second is that, like, suppose we should, our habits should be in such a way that if the physical pain is there in the body, there are some disease in the body, our chanting is going to be very, very difficult. So we should prepare our body. We should ensure that we are not getting unhealthy through our proper diet, exercise, whatever is required. Ensure that, of course, in material world, we cannot be perfectly healthy, but at the same time, we should try to be healthy. Otherwise, if our health is not good, usually you'll see that when we are sick, it's very difficult to focus on chanting. So remaining healthy is very, very important. Second, preparing bodies to remain clean. Like if you are not clean, then what happens? That's why Srila Prabhupada said that you should remain clean, take bath properly, and then cleaning is very important. Cleanliness, wear fresh cloth, it affects our consciousness. If we have taken proper bath, we are wearing fresh clothes in the morning, and then we sit for chanting. It has creates a more environment of mode of goodness. The place where we chant is also very important. Suppose we chant on the bed, where we are sleeping, and the place where the neat and clean place you sit for chanting. That is very important. Maybe in temple hall, if you sit for chanting, it has got different, impact. It will help your chanting. But if you chant where we eat or where we sleep, certainly that will impact our chanting. That affects our consciousness. So these are the few considerations to prepare our body or our atmosphere, our house, place of chanting, all these things. Second is how to prepare our mind. So mind is always looking for what? Desiring for material things, materialistic things, thinking, feeling, and willing. The mind is thinking, feeling, and willing what? Mind is thinking of Maya, materialistic thing, feeling for materialistic thing, willing for materialistic thing. So for 22 hours of the day, we should ensure that our mind is thinking of Krishna. Not that suddenly when we sit for chanting, suddenly mind starts thinking for Krishna. No, it doesn't happen. Whole day we have watched news and suddenly we want to think of Krishna. That is impractical. Doesn't happen. So we should practice that. Maybe think of Krishna, Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's lila, Krishna's qualities. Keep thinking. Whenever we get time, read about Krishna's pastimes. How wonderful is Krishna? What is my relationship with Krishna? How Krishna is so sweet. How his dham is sweet. How his associates are so sweet. So all these things. When we experience, when we taste the sweetness of Krishna, through his pastimes, various pastimes, sweet pastimes, then our mind naturally gets attracted towards, Krishna. And therefore, when we chant for in that consciousness, it becomes very easy the chanting becomes very easy. So pastimes, Krishna's pastimes, remembering, and in those pastimes, Krishna's wonderful activities and mainly his character, his qualities, how loving he is, all those things. If you remember, chanting becomes very, very good. Third is to prepare our intelligence. Very important. What intelligence role is? Vyavasayatmika buddhi, ekeha kuru nandana. Bahusakha hi anantasya buddhaya vyavasayina. So there is vyavasayi and avyavasayi. Vyavasayi intelligence and avyavasayi intelligence. What is avyavasayi intelligence? Avyavasayi intelligence is that not clear intelligence. What is most important for me? This is also important, this is also important, this is also important, this is also important. We should be very clear. The most important thing is chanting. Like sometimes you see, when we sit for chanting, mind goes in office, mind goes in family. Why? Because mind thinks that this is also very important. So whatever mind thinks, this is most important. That's where it is going to focus. So those calculations has to be made properly. That's how we set priority. Keep first thing first. And what is first thing in our life? Chanting. But we need to get intellectually convinced that yes, chanting is the most important activity of my life. That's where this Japa talk helps. The Japa talk means what? To preparing our intellect for chanting. It reminds us, that yes, chanting is very, very important. Chanting is most important. The glory of chanting, the power of chanting, power of the holy name, how important it is, how powerful it is. When we remember this, that yes, chanting is the most important activity, then we'll give our maximum attention to something which is most important, isn't it? But if you forget that this is the most important activity, and we start thinking that no, something else is most important, then we'll not be able to focus on chanting. We'll not be able to emphasize the chanting. So through reading about the glories of the holy name, importance of chanting, through hearing about the glories of the holy name and the importance of chanting, and also through proper contemplation, we conclude that yes, chanting is the most important, and therefore we'll be able to focus on chanting. Our attention, which goes here and there, will not be there. So we'll give primary importance to chanting, and that's the fact that Tar Madhya Sarvashreshth Nam Sankirtan, Nirapradha Nam Loy, Pai Prem Dhan. Tar Madhya Sarvashreshth Nam Sankirtan. The highest thing is, out of all the 9 limbs of devotional service, the most important is Nam Sankirtan, chanting of the holy name, the highest. So when we read such things regularly, I have seen many devotees, they keep many books on chanting and they keep reading. Like Nectarian Ocean of the Holy Name, Namamrit book is there. Some books written by many senior devotees have written good books on chanting. So we should read those books which emphasizes, which explains the glories of chanting. And then, so in that way, when we read about glories of chanting, we prepare our intellect for chanting. Some devotee, even before chanting, they read some stanzas from the glory of chanting or Namamrit. Why? This is the purpose. And then finally, how to prepare our ego for chanting. So usually we are in the state of false ego. What is that? False ego is that false ego inspires us to think that we can remain happy without Krishna. That is called false ego. That there are so many other things also can make us happy other than Krishna Prema. That is false ego. I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor, I am the controller. So then this feeling will not come. What we said is that intense eagerness to attain Krishna, Lalem. When do we develop that intense eagerness to attain Krishna? Is that when we remember our original constitutional position. Pranadapi Sunichen, Tarorapi Sahishna, Amanina Manden, Kirtaniya Sadahari. These 4 qualities prepares our ego. Pranadapi Sunichen, Tarorapi Sahishna, Amanina Manden, Kirtaniya Sadahari. And I need not to explain much because you all know this. Remembering that I am the most fallen. Oh Krishna, I am thinking that I'm such a and such person, I'm so great, I'm this, I'm that, I have this much, I have that much. When we have any other shelter and think that these shelters can protect us, that is called false ego. Oh Krishna, without you there is no shelter in this world. Dukhere sagare padiyachi ami uthaiye jani. Oh Krishna, I have fallen in the ocean of material suffering, and I can see no other hope than your lotus feet. For my deliverance, I cannot see any other hope, any other way other than to surrender to you. So this consciousness of surrendering to Krishna, doesn't matter how great we are in this material world. We may be having lakhs and millions and millions of dollars, the highest position in this material world, but when we understand that these all are futile and can be finished in 1 second, everything is over, then we can cry for Krishna while chanting, understanding our precarious situation. And that is what prepares us for chanting, preparing our false ego for chanting. And getting situated that I'm not this, I'm not, sometimes we think I'm director, I'm manager, I'm this, I'm that. So the moment you think I am director, I am manager, then your mind goes in management, isn't it? I am doctor, then your mind goes in office. Today, how many patients are going to come? What are the cases I have to handle? So so that's why he said that when we chant, we should understand, Naham Vipro Nachan Grihapati Navanastho Yatirva Naam Varni Nacha Narpati Navaisyo Nasudro Kintu Prodyan Nikhil Paramanand Punnam Ritabde Gopir Bhartur Pad Kamalayo Das. My only identity is that I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, nothing else. This is my identity. And all other identities are acquired identity, not original identity. So when we understand this, then our attention doesn't go here and there. So these are the few preparations: preparing the body, preparing the mind, preparing the ego, preparing the intellect. And when we prepare all these things properly throughout those 22 hours, then we can chant peacefully for 2 hours without any difficulty. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful, short but very, very focused class. We can just spend a few minutes if anybody got any questions for Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Yes.
Let me turn on. Yeah, so Prabhuji mentioned how to prepare our body, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, and also you suggested to read some specific that just among all the devotional services. So you also do you also suggest any other tips, like while we are working or doing anything, so chanting inside our mind constantly the holy name, is there anything something like that which will be also helpful to remember? Because reading all the time is not possible because of our work, right? That is limited. So the 22 hours apart from doing the work and doing the reading, is there anything else which we can practice so that the chanting will become natural?
Yeah, I agree with you. We can always keep chanting, practicing to chant always. Also, we can remember so many other things also, like recollecting the philosophy, sometimes chanting only, remembering. See, one of the important thing is remembering the sambandha jnana. I mentioned that remembering that falsity of this material world, that is very, very important. That any moment death can come. We should, this material world, all these things are illusory. How futile it is. The principles which we explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, when we are in this material world, we have to do our duties 100% nicely. Whatever duties you are doing in office or at home. But at the same time, we must remember that, like Krishna says, Mamupete punarjanma sasatam dukkhalayam. See, when we know that, suppose we are in a house where there is fire in the house. So that, if you know that there is a fire in the house, that gives us impetus to get out of the house. So remembering that is very, very important. That will bring intensity in our chanting. Simply chanting is one thing, but more than that, why are we chanting? That remembering is very important. Why are we chanting? How important is chanting? When we remember this, then automatically we'll chant. So throughout the day, if you can practice and then we chant, certainly it will help. Like we remember that Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Patitam Mam Bisame Bhavam. Now suppose you go in the mall, and in mall so many things are attractive, things are there to enjoy. And there how will you remember Krishna? When there's so many things are to enjoy, why to go back to God? Here only I am enjoying. There we have to understand that these all things are so temporary, and they are just to cheat us, to deceive us, to distract us from Krishna. And then we chant, "Oh Krishna, please protect me from all these distractions, that I can focus on your lotus feet. I should not forget that I'm stuck up in this material world, which is full of suffering." And then we chant. Yes, of course. Is that
Thank
clear?
you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It is
Hare
very clear.
Is there any other question for Prabhuji? No. Okay. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your kind time, and it is very purifying for all of us. We look forward to hear you again. I will connect back with you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.